Welcome to the Chilling Ghost Stories channel. Today we bring you a famous Chinese ghost story titled The Moonlight Mystery. If you enjoy the story, please give us a like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you. Now let's get started. Chapter 4. Reality and Illusion.
Here is the translation of the text into English, with the character names changed to their pinyin equivalents. Yè Xīn was incredibly busy with all kinds of tasks in the student union, but also found joy in her work. She had recently become the capable assistant of the Cultural Activities Committee head, and was helping prepare for a singing contest organized jointly by 6 colleges in the northwestern part of the city. Initially, the committee heads only planned to host a karaoke competition, but Xīn suggested incorporating a segment for original compositions, leveraging the momentum from the recent songwriting campaign at their school. Her proposal intrigued the committee heads, who quickly approved it. As a result, Yè Xīn became a key pioneer in the initiative. Her biggest concern was whether there would be enough performers for the original songs. To her surprise, as soon as the notice was posted, the door of the Cultural Committee office at the medical university was nearly pushed off its hinges. Within just a few days, over a dozen singers and bands from various schools had come to sign up. After a chaotic, sleepless night, Xīn was now sitting in the student union office, the warm midday sunlight streaming through the window. Feeling a bit drowsy, she drank 2 glasses of Coca-Cola, but her temples still felt slightly tense. "Excuse me, is this where I register for the singing competition?" A deep, captivating male voice interrupted Xīn's drowsiness. Not because she was charmed by the voice, but because the young man had entered so silently that it startled her. "When did you come in?" Xīn asked, still recovering from her surprise. "You were dozing off. But that's okay. Spring is for sleeping, autumn for less, and it's just after noon. Who wouldn't feel sleepy at this time?" The young man smiled cheerfully, his eyes twinkling with amusement. Noticing his casual demeanor, Xīn thought he must be a first-year student like herself. Teasingly, she said, "What did you just say? Singing? That sounds like something elementary school kids would say. This isn't just ordinary singing. It's a contest for original compositions. Performers must write both the music and the lyrics themselves." "I know," he continued to smile. Xīn took out a registration form. "Please provide your name, school, class, and the song title." Since there are already many registrants, each participant can only submit 2 songs. The competition will be held on April 22nd, coinciding with Earth Day. We hope one of your songs will revolve around this theme. "Are you assigning an essay topic here? Might as well rename this the 8-legged songwriting contest," he joked, grinning and looking intently at Yè Xīn. In truth, Xīn agreed with his sentiment. Limiting the theme could indeed stifle creativity. However, the Earth Day theme was decided by the school's Youth League Committee, and she was just a minor staffer. Protesting it would be like a mantis trying to stop a cart. "Do you think you're living in some bygone era? Even the college entrance exams have essay prompts with limited topics. We only ask for a song related to Earth Day, not something rigidly defined. You still have plenty of room to be creative. Besides, Earth Day is mainly about environmental protection. Isn't that important? Don't tell me you've already forgotten the dust storms we had last month." "I see you like rhetorical questions," he said. "It shows you're quite independent-minded, but your appearance suggests otherwise. Let's just say you're soft on the outside but strong inside. Better that than tough both inside and out for a female student," he quipped while scratching his messy hair. Seeing Xīn's annoyed expression, he quickly added, "Let's get back on topic. My name is Yè Xīn from the medical school, same year as you, Class C. I've often seen you in the lecture hall." No wonder his gaze was so unabashed. Xīn found it amusing but said nothing. "Are you laughing at me? What's so funny?" he asked. "Nothing much. Your name happens to match a character in one of Jin Yong's martial arts novels." "Really?" He seemed momentarily lost in thought. "Golden Lion King Yè Xīn, from the Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber. Haven't read it? Never mind. Let's not digress. What's the title of your song? I need to get to class." "Waiting," he said, suddenly serious. "Waiting for what? I really do need to go now." "No, the title of my song is Waiting." Yè Xīn's face looked slightly confused. Yè Xīn let out an "oh" and realized her tone had been a bit rude. Internally, she blamed Yangshan. Feeling apologetic, she said, "Sorry for the misunderstanding. I've noted it down. As for your second song, it just needs to be loosely related to nature or the environment." "I'll need a piano," she soon said suddenly. "What?" Xīn couldn't believe her ears. "I need a piano. Surely original compositions require accompaniment, right? But it's been a long time since I last played." Yè Xīn wanted to suggest a guitar or keyboard as more convenient alternatives, but she feared Chesun might again accuse her of rhetorical questioning. So she nodded. "It's a bit challenging, but the student union will do its best to arrange it." After class, Xīn hurried to the small tin-roofed building that housed the school's photography association to find Yoshu Liang, a fellow townsman and the association's president. With his small face, oversized glasses that covered most of it, and squinty eyes from emerging from the dark room, Shuliang looked almost comical. When he spotted Xīn, his eyes briefly widened before returning to their usual half-closed state. "Xīn, as a Level 2 member of the Photography Association, your photos may not be professional grade, but they should at least meet basic standards." It was said that Shuliang had been playing with cameras since he could crawl. With his deep knowledge of photography, he often boasted about his skills. Xīn exclaimed in shock. "What do you mean? Are you saying the photos I took last night weren't clear?" "Not just unclear. Look for yourself." Shuliang pulled out several photos and laid them before her. 5 shots taken with flash are all hazy. Did you aim at a white cloth? And the 3 without flash are pitch black. Did you aim at a black cloth? Before Shuliang could think of a better metaphor, Xīn was already staring at the photos in disbelief, momentarily forgetting to retort. How could this happen? If she showed these blank photos to Jimin to prove her point, it would be humiliating. Shuliang, oblivious to her feelings, continued to berate her. "I even bothered to develop these. They're not photos at all, just ruined pieces of photo paper. Could it be that you made a mistake when developing the film?" Yè Xīn began her counterattack. "Your film? No, perhaps I should call it the tortured pieces of plastic that were developed simultaneously in the same tray of chemicals. If there was an error, all the pictures you took, whether with or without a flash, would have the same result of being either all black or all white. They couldn't be this contradictory. Furthermore, some of the works from the scrawny club president were also developed at the same time as yours, and there were no errors at all." Yè Xīn knew that Yu Shuliang's film development skills were excellent. She was only arguing for the sake of it. Continuing to discuss the matter with him wouldn't help uncover the cause. Instead, she decided to return to the dissection laboratory to investigate. She turned to leave. Yu Shuliang called after her. "Do you still want these works? Take them back to the dormitory to hang up. They'll be quite impressive." Seeing Yè Xīn ignore him, Yu Shuliang mumbled to himself, "I might as well keep them as negative examples to train the new recruits." During the day, the dissection building still smelled strongly of chemicals, but it wasn't as suffocating as after midnight. Yè Xīn headed straight to the end of the corridor. The small room's door was still ajar. She gently pushed it open and was surprised once again. The room was empty, no glass cabinets, no iron bed. She vaguely felt as though she were being mocked, and the one playing tricks on her was none other than her own eyes. Feeling slightly annoyed, she turned to leave, deciding that the old hunchbacked man must know the truth. She noticed that the door to the body processing room was tightly shut and knocked. Inside, there was complete silence. That night, Yè Xīn returned to the dissection building and pushed open the ajar door of the small room again. The intricate body specimen seemed to be waiting for her arrival. Its fluorescent glow illuminated her eyes. Perhaps it had been taken away for teaching purposes during the day and returned at night. In any case, it was a good opportunity to study, especially with midterm exams next week. She wasn't sure how long she had been observing when she began to feel tired. Regretting not bringing her mini cassette player to listen to some music, she suddenly heard a gentle melody. It sounded like a flute, but also like an accordion, a refreshing stream soothing her parched throat and spreading throughout her body. Yè Xīn closed her eyes and let herself drift in the music, Suddenly, a bright white light shone, forcing her to close her eyes. When she dared to open them again, her heart skipped a beat. The components of the body specimen were assembling themselves into place, and in an instant, they transformed into the corpse of a girl in white. Feeling a mix of despair and frustration, Yè Xīn asked, "Why won't you let me go?" She seemed to hear a cold laugh followed by a sigh. Frightened, she turned to leave, but the laugh and sigh seemed to follow her. She ran, sweating and shouting for help, before waking up from her nightmare. Another restless night. Yè Xīn woke up late, skipped breakfast, and nearly arrived late for her biochemistry class at 8 a.m. Fortunately, Qin had saved her a seat in the front row by placing a textbook on the chair. Biochemistry was taught in the largest lecture hall, shared by 4 classes with tiered seating. If students didn't arrive early to secure a seat in the front, it was difficult to see the board. Female students in particular valued academic performance and would often arrive early to claim good spots. Although Yè Xīn arrived late, she got a prime seat in the front row, causing a slight frown from the girl next to her. Noticing this, Yè Xīn pulled out a small reporter-style tape recorder and explained, "Sorry, I need to record the lecture for a friend who's sick, so I have to sit in the front. I was a bit lazy today." This girl, though not in the same class as Yè Xīn, knew her as someone who was always with Ouyang Shan. She smiled and said nothing more. Remembering that this girl was from Class C, Yè Xīn asked quietly, "Is there a guy named Yè Xīn in your class?" The girl teased her immediately. "Yes, a rather eccentric guy." "Why? Do you like him? I can pass him a message for you." Yè Xīn quickly replied, "What are you talking about? He signed up for the Student Association's songwriting contest and said he needed a piano for accompaniment. Didn't you realize he was bluffing? He's quite the braggart. We often call him the golden-haired Lion King." Yè Xīn felt annoyed. So he knows Yè Xīn as a character from Jin Yong's novels. I pointed that out to him, but he pretended to be clueless. The girl laughed. "Don't get mad. It means he likes you. Guys often pretend around girls they're interested in. I'll tell him after class to invite you to dance this weekend." "Don't do that." Xīn turned to look at Yè Xīn, who was slouching in the back row, chatting with another boy. The other boy had dark eyebrows and bright eyes, but a pale face with noticeable dark circles, likely from lack of sleep. Like Yè Xīn. When he noticed Yè Xīn and the other girl looking back at Yè Xīn, he returned their gaze coldly. Yè Xīn wanted to ask more about the cold-looking boy, but the lecture began, and she decided against it to avoid further teasing. Translation continues similarly for the rest of the passage. Not at all. Xīn recounted the strange events of the past few days, describing the anatomical specimen she'd seen. Teacher Gun listened with increasing amazement, shaking his head repeatedly, nearly knocking his glasses off. Especially when he heard about the parts of the specimen assembling into the corpse of a girl in white, he interrupted. "The more you speak, the more implausible it sounds. Clearly, this is just a dream. I've been working in the anatomy lab for 2 years and have never heard of such a treasure. But the specimen was so vivid, and how do you explain my significant improvement in anatomy studies? Could it be that you're so passionate about anatomy, having delved deeply into the textbooks and specimens, that your mind created the perfect specimen? In other words, your own knowledge formed this image in your consciousness?" Xīn adamantly shook her head. "No way. We've only studied half the anatomy syllabus, so how could I form a perfect specimen in my mind?" Teacher Gun closed his materials and books. "Seeing is believing. Let's go and check it out." The two of them entered the small room, which was completely empty. Xīn said, "I haven't seen it for a few days. It seems to have disappeared entirely." She stood there, lost in thought, trying to recall everything she'd witnessed. The more she thought, the less sense it made, and the sharper the headache grew, as if her head might explode. Perhaps from standing too long and thinking too hard, Xīn swayed as if about to fall. Teacher Gun quickly supported her and gently called, "Yè Xīn, are you all right?" At that moment, Xīn found herself standing amidst surging waves, with strong winds howling in her ears. She was like a small boat tossed about on the water. Suddenly, the waves and wind ceased entirely, and a deathly silence enveloped her. Murmurs and whispers seemed to emanate from the ground, accompanied by deep, echoing sounds like needles pricking her eardrums and piercing her flesh. In her hazy state, she heard the peculiar sound again. Moonlight. She wanted to ask, "What is moonlight?" But the scene before her eyes gradually turned gray. Yè Xīn felt all vitality drain away, her body going limp as she collapsed. "Yè Xīn, are you all right?" Yè Xīn opened her eyes wide and met the concerned and warm gaze of Zhang Wengun. She regained her composure. "Where am I?" "You fainted in the anatomy room. This is the medical room. They've given you a saline drip. You're much better now. They said it was hypoglycemia, likely from not eating or sleeping well for several days. But it's nothing serious. Just rest for a few days and you'll be fine." Yè Xīn sighed softly. "It must be because I haven't been sleeping well." She thanked Teacher Gun and left the medical room. Her legs felt light, almost back to normal. "You don't look so well," Zhang remarked, half concerned, half relieved upon seeing Yè Xīn. "Don't even ask. I haven't been sleeping well. Those strange dreams keep coming back." Around Shan, Yè Xīn felt lighter and safer, even though Shang was just recuperating at home and couldn't offer much help. After hearing the whole bizarre story, Shang wished she could immediately rush to the anatomy lab to investigate, but could only sit and watch Yè Xīn's despondent expression, unsure how to share the burden. "Why don't you try taking a sedative? It's not ideal, but better than losing sleep every night." Shang recalled a bottle of medicine her mother kept in her vanity. "It's not anything life-threatening. Don't worry too much. I also have some good news for you. The previous anatomy lecturer has gone abroad, and the person who brought me to the medical room was a new young lecturer. Pretty arrogant, but excellent at teaching. I recorded his lecture for you, so you can enjoy it at your leisure." Seeing the spark of interest in Yè Xīn's eyes as she spoke, Shan teased relentlessly. "I see it now. A budding student-teacher romance. You've only met for a day, just a few days without me keeping an eye on you, and you've already stepped into a love story." Yè Xīn hastily retorted, scolding Shan for being ridiculous. "But speaking of men, I've discovered someone interesting. Have you heard of Yè Xīn?"